Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joseph Gutierrez, and this is Covered and Compounding. In today's video, we're going over a common dilemma that many retirees face, and it has to do with taxes in retirement, specifically those pesky qualified accounts, 401k, traditional IRAs, and the like. Many retirees don't realize this, but we did do a little deal with the devil to get the tax deferred growth in our qualified 401k savings accounts. And now, as we get deeper into retirement, the devil, aka Uncle Sam, is coming for his due in the form of those RMD requirements. Many retirees are often blindsided by the approaching tax bill and scramble to minimize the hit. And it's not just retirees that get the hit, it's also their beneficiaries, often their children, that have to deal with large tax bill potential. If we don't get ahead of it, our likelihood of near 50% tax on distributions can be very real. Now, the good news on all of this is that we can minimize our tax hit and transform our IRAs to tax-free inheritance accounts for our beneficiaries, as well as build our own tax-free wealth for ourselves. In today's video, we're going to investigate our strategy to accomplish this. And just as a small spoiler, no, it's not a Roth conversion. There is another way. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at how our client here intends on minimizing his RMD requirements and kind of transforming his qualified account, his old 401k, and turning it into a tax-free account, not only for his heirs, for his inherited heirs, but also for himself so he can access those funds and have them tax-free as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at our client first here. We have our client, Brad. Now, Brad is a 70-year-old male, and he has his retirement. He's been in retirement for about 5 years or so. He's doing quite well. Now we could split up his assets into two columns here, essentially. He's got his non-qualified, he's got his qualified accounts. So non-qualified, okay, he's doing quite well. He's got a nice dividend portfolio. He also has single family rental, okay, an old rental property that he used to live in. He's getting a nice income from that. And he's got a nice portfolio, a nice bond portfolio, mostly uni bonds. And between all of these different assets, he's getting quite a bit of income, more than enough from what he needs. So he doesn't really need his qualified account. His qualified account, he mostly just wants to give it as an inheritance to his daughter, to his beneficiary, and just in case he needs it for any kind of emergencies, right? So on his qualified side, he has a $1 million traditional IRA, okay? And that traditional IRA is in a mutual fund, and it does pretty well year over year. Now, the problem that he's running into in his qualified account is that he's going to have to pay RMDs. He's going to have to pay taxes on this. And his taxes on his RMDs when he turns 73, so the next 3 years or so, so at 73, he's going to have to pay roughly $38,000 if his $1 million traditional IRA doesn't grow too much. He's going to have to pay about $38,000 a year. Okay, so he's afraid of a few things. One thing is that he knows RMDs will likely be going up if he doesn't do anything about it, right? His account value could be going up, and he's going to have bigger and bigger RMD requirements that might push him into the next tax bracket. So that's a fear of his over the long run if he doesn't do anything about this now. Also, he knows that, unfortunately, non-spousal inherited IRAs need to be dispersed over a maximum of 10 years. Okay, so this is a major pain point for our client Brad here, in that this $1 million, whenever he does pass away, the majority of the $1 million, if not more than the $1 million he started out with, is going to go to his daughter. But his daughter is going to have to disperse all those funds within a 10-year period, which will make her taxes significantly higher. A lot of that $1 million that he intends to go to her is going to turn into a huge tax bill, and most likely that 50 or so percent is going to be going to the tax man, which he does not want. Okay. Taxes for his beneficiaries is a major pain point for him. Okay. Also, he doesn't really need the money. No need for the IRA money at this given time. Okay. This is more of kind of like a savings account in case he gets sick or something like that. Right. So he really just wants to take this money. He wants to get it from taxable to non-tax. Okay. How can he do that? All right. So one way that he can do this is that he can utilize two different products. He can utilize SPIA and a whole life policy. Okay. And have them interact together. So how can he go about doing this? Well, let's take a look at it this way. So we have our client here. He has his IRA, his $1 million. Okay. Now, what he could do is could take that money and he could put it into a SPIA. Okay. SPIA is a single premium immediate annuity. Okay. So that SPIA is going to shoot off some money year after year for as long as he lives. So for a 70-year-old male, this is going to come out to roughly $80,000 a year. Okay, so that paycheck from the annuity is going to go off like clockwork every year. Now, one of the benefits of the SPIA is that it has no cash value. Cash value has no account value. Okay, so from the eyes of the IRS, all they see is this contract that spits out $80,000 a year, and the $1 million is essentially tied into the SPIA. Now, that can be a negative for some people, but for Brad, this is perfect because it happens to blend in very well, pairing it with the whole life policy. Okay, so remember, the SPIA has no cash value, but in this case, his RMDs will not go up, right? Because the fair market value of the SPIA is actually going down, and all we're really getting is the $80,000 a year for life. So we're not going to have to worry about increasing RMDs. So that pain point is gone for our client Brad here. Also, the $80,000 is going to go into our whole life policy. Now, the $80,000, we do have to pay tax in order to get into the whole life policy. I believe he's in the 24% tax bracket. Let's just assume 25%. So the $80,000 will look a lot more like $60,000 after tax. Now, what's great about this, about utilizing some of these products, is that we can blend our policy just like we do for a lot of the infinite banking policies. If you want, you can check out some of our videos. We've talked about this in the past, where that $60,000 can actually buy us a $1 million whole life policy. Okay. And we do this by incorporating some of the riders that we talk about in a lot of our videos. So in this case, it's a 25% base construction, and the other 75% is term and paid up additions. Okay. So by doing this kind of blend, we're able to make our $60,000 support that $1 million face amount, that $1 million death benefit. And we're going to have a death benefit that is growing, right? We're also going to be growing our cash value as well. Is going to be increasing as well, especially through those PUAs. Okay, so we have a death benefit that's growing, we have a cash value that's growing, and we have the option of long-term care or the accelerated death death benefits. Okay, so just in case we need long-term care insurance, things like that, we can tack that on to a policy if we want to, and it'll help provide funds just in case we were needed. Okay, a lot of retirees oftentimes overlook the need for long-term care, but we do have to remember that about 70% of us are going to need long-term care at some point in retirement, and Medicare doesn't really cover long-term care insurance. Luckily for as an option for a lot of these contracts, we can tack on some long-term care coverage if we want to, but it's optional. Okay. We also have this large cash value account that's growing over time, that's growing quite nicely that we can access, and all this is tax-free. All this is tax-free. Our death benefit is tax-free, and our cash value accumulation, as well as being able to access it, is tax-free as well. Tax-free uh, through distributions up to basis, so we can just take distributions from our policy if we want to, or we can utilize the policy loan features, which is also tax-free. Okay, so as we can see through this setup, the SPIA is feeding the whole life policy, which gives us that $1 million. So we effectively took $1 million from our qualified account and we turned it into a tax-free inheritance check of $1 million whenever we do pass. We also have a nice growing cash value that we can access in case we need to, which is also tax-free under those disbursement scenarios. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we can construct this. Let's look at some illustrations. Okay, so we're going to be utilizing one of our favorite carriers for estate planning, things like that. We really like Mass Mutual for this reason. Okay, and we're looking at their single premium immediate annuity. This is the SPIA, right? This is the SPIA that we were talking about. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll on down here. And the first page, it kind of talks about the financial strength of the carrier. Okay, this is Mass Mutual, one of the biggest insurance carriers in the U.S., if not the world, right? And it has a superior rating right here, A++. A lot of these rating companies, AM Best, Fitch, all these different rating companies look at the financial profile of the carrier before they give that rating, obviously, and depending on how well capitalized they are, will dictate what kind of rating they're going to get. Okay, so Mass Mutual, one of the large mutual life insurance carriers, is very well capitalized, arguably one of the best capitalized insurance carriers there is. So the strength and the guarantee of the company is very strong. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on down. One of the things I like to touch on when I'm talking about annuities, especially the single premium annuity, is that it takes care of a need of a lot of different clients. Okay, now for Brad, he doesn't necessarily need the money, right? In this particular example, but for other people that are worried about income and retirement and are worried about what's called longevity risk, the SPIA, as well as other annuities, helps guarantee that we're not going to run out of money in retirement, right? Because if we look down here, we notice that, for example, there is a 31.6% chance the annuitant will live to age 90. We can see that right here. Okay, in this little graph right here, we can see that the average individual is living longer and longer, and the ability to have those payouts, have that security and that income through the SPIA is very important. Now, if we're working with the financial advisor and we're kind of doing the traditional model of stocks and bonds and just using the income from that, and hopefully it's good enough, a lot of times we run into situations where the retiree is draining down their account by the time they get into their late 80s or 90s. They have a heightened risk of running out of money in retirement. It's the last thing that we want. We do not want to be pinching pennies in the twilight years of our life, right? And the SPIA and other annuities, other guaranteed income type of annuities, guarantees, right? Guarantees that we will not run out of money. And this is very important. Okay. So a lot of people kind of overlook this, but this definitely fulfills a need. I always like to touch on this subject with my clients. Now, moving on down, but for this particular scenario, Brad doesn't really need the income. He's just using that income to support that tax-free death benefit through the whole life policy. And we can see that he basically buys the income from the SPIA to support this about $80,000 a year. Okay, the $80,000 coming out of the IRA into our non-qualified money, right? And $80,000 year after year. So Brad could live easily into his 90s and he's still getting $80,000 a year, or broken up into monthly payments if he chooses, for as long as he lives. Okay, and there's different options here. If we move on down, we can see that there's a straight life option, cash refund, period certain 10 years, period certain 20 years. The other options, obviously, we have a slightly less payout, and that's just for a guarantee that if we were to pass away too early, would we get a full cash refund of the money that we put in for beneficiaries, or for 10 years period certain, or 20-year period certain. There's different options. But for our particular client here, he's fine with the maximum payout through the lifetime income, the straight life option. Okay, it's not a whole lot not a whole lot to it with single premium immediate annuity. Okay, it's basically the engine of our policy. Okay, so that we can provide the income for it. Now let's move on to the whole life policy. So we're going to be making use of the whole life 100 product. This is great for estate planning purposes, and we're going to be making use of the lister rider here. So let's go ahead and scroll on down. Okay, if you've seen some of our videos on infinite banking, this will look pretty familiar. We're utilizing a lot of the riders that we use for infinite banking type policies where we have large cash value type of designs. We're utilizing the lister rider, the life insurance supplement rider, and the additional life insurance rider, the AILR. Okay, the two of these added together kind of support a death benefit that's growing and a cash value that's also growing, okay, through the term rider and the paid up additions that's growing over time. Okay, now if we scroll on down, kind of like the summary page here, a nice little summary illustration page, we can see that from that $80,000, we pay the tax, roughly, let's say about $20,000. $60,000 goes into our policy year after year. We can see first year, $60,000 is there. Our cash value is $34,000, and it supports this heightened death benefit of roughly $1 million. And by using that 25-75 split for our premiums going into the policy, we can have this heightened death benefit. So God forbid, if Brad was to pass away after putting this policy together, a month later, his beneficiary is going to get that $1 million. It's not going to have to worry about that IRA and all the tax consequences associated with inherited IRA. So he's covered on that level. And we can see year after year, he's using the SPIA to fund it. He's also growing his cash value and his death benefit. Let's say Brad makes it to about 85 years old. He's got a solid $831,000 in cash value, and his death benefit has also grown to $1.4 million. And that's $1.4 million tax-free to his daughter, to his beneficiary. He has a solid $831,000 of cash value that he can use just in case he needs it for any kind of medical emergency, long-term care needs, things like that. He's protected in that way as well. Okay, and he can access that tax-free as well. Okay. So what we can see here is that when we couple the SPIA and the whole life together, we're able to transform the $1 million that's sitting in our taxable account that, Uncle Sam is licking his lips, getting ready to tax our client here at age 73. And we're able to move it on over into a much more efficient way of growing our wealth in a tax-free manner. Tax-free cash value and that tax-free death benefit, okay? And the SPIA, whenever we do pass, that SPIA is going to end, and all that money that we transferred into our policy is going to support that $1 million+ death benefit for his beneficiary, essentially making his qualified $1 million turn into 1 million plus, sidestepping a lot of the tax worries that he had for himself as well as for his daughter, for his beneficiary. Okay, thank you for watching our video. In today's video, we went over an example of how our client Brad here was able to effectively take his qualified account of $1 million that's open to tax through RMDs and transfer it into a non-taxable strategy by utilizing a single premium immediate annuity and a whole life policy, an optimized whole life policy for a large death benefit. He gets growing cash value that he can access in case he needs it for long-term care, for any other needs that he may have, as well as that large tax-free death benefit for his daughter. Because remember, if he's stuck with the traditional IRA setup, his inherited funds will likely add to the taxable account for his daughter, to her taxable income, and create a large tax burden for her. By doing it in this strategy, we're able to bypass those worries and make use of these tax efficient type of policies through the SPIA and especially through the whole life policy. Okay, so this is just one example of how we can use these insurance-based products to guarantee better outcomes for ourselves as well as for our families. Okay. Once again, thank you for watching our video. If you are interested in putting together your own policy, whether you're looking to put a SPIA together for a portion of your portfolio to minimize your RMD requirements, or you're looking to put together your own long-term care policy or whole life policy, feel free to click the link in our description. It'll take you to our webpage where you can see much of our information. There's a new blog format, read articles and watch videos. You can also see that there is a button for a free consultation. Okay. And in that consultation, we'll go over your financial circumstances and how we can best position you in retirement and kind of maximize our tax-free assets in the best way possible and minimize the RMD requirements or any other issues that you may be having. Okay. Once again, thank you for watching. Be sure to click like and subscribe. Ring the bell for future notifications. And I look forward to seeing you on our journey towards financial independence utilizing the foundational asset. Until next time.